Let's see how it sounds. Neck pickup. Middle pickup. Bridge pickup. Today, let's change the tuners and the bridge. First thing to do is to tape off your stop bar tailpiece. Okay, you want to check your parts and lay them out accordingly. You notice that the tab for this side is down, and on the inside, tab is down, and on that side, 6 of them. The reason I say 6, of course, you're going to say, of course there's 6. Well, it looks like they gave me an extra piece here, and also gave me an extra tiny screw. There's 7 of them in here, but the washers, of course, there's 6 of those. I'll take the strings off. I'm going to try to save these strings because the locking tuners will lock before the wind, I believe. We'll try it. Sometimes with locking tuners, I'd like to go around maybe a half of turn. It just really depends. Because I'll be turning the guitar over, I just want to, kind of secure the strings here so they're not flopping all over the place. In anticipation of using this wax, this is wax in a jar, plain wax. I want to melt it just a little bit. Don't get this too hot, and certainly avoid heating this to the point where it's going to start to fume. You don't want that. It's enough. It's just starting to melt around the edges there. You can see that, I hope. That clear stuff over on the back side here is liquid wax. So now we bring it back over to the work area. By the way, here's our wax. It still continued to melt. Taking it off the heat and just carrying it across the room. Now let's unscrew these. Don't strip these. Just be careful how you do this. Get the right size screwdriver if you possibly can. Okay, I'll continue with the rest of them. I like to loosen the screws on all of them and then take them off, and I got this little magnetized tin, and if I can take these out by hand, great. Now let's loosen the nuts here. You could do this the other way around, I'm sure. I don't think it makes any difference. There's more than one way to do these tasks, as I usually mention on most of the videos I make. Again, I'm just going to loosen it for now. So, if you feel more comfortable loosening these nuts first or taking them off and then doing the screw in the back, that is just fine. I've done it both ways. I don't think this is rocket science. Do you? If you do do it the way I'm doing it, where I took the screw off first in the back. You'll have to hold this while you take this off, because this will fall through. Okay, now I want to set this aside. I always keep my original parts. This is the original sleeve and nut, and fortunately they fit this new set of locking tuners. So I'll just use these. I guess it was a good thing that I took the screw off first, huh? Because I'm going to keep these parts, and I'll keep the other ones as extras. Extras for what? Who knows? It's not likely I'll have a need for them again unless I'm a guitar builder, which I've not done yet. Okay, here I've left each one purposely loose. I have not tightened this nut down. I don't suggest you do that at this point until you put the screw in the back, and then you can come around and snugly tighten these. So let's get that done. Flip the guitar over, and I've changed screwdrivers because this one's magnetized. And I want to come over here to the hot wax. Whoops, pardon me. Come over here to the hot wax. Just dip the tip. That's all you need, just the tip. And then put this in the hole and screw the screw in. Yeah, that wax makes this go in very easily. If you found that you have too much wax on the screw, it's not a big deal, because it will just flake off as you put this in. And you just blow it away. I did not screw these down all the way, just put them in place essentially. Now, just snug. I've said that a lot of videos, because you really think about, what is the purpose of this screw? It's really to stop it from spinning, stop the tuning unit from spinning around. And you don't have to, nor is it recommended, to put these screws in tight. Just snug. Can't say that enough. If you go beyond snug, you'll get into other problems like stripping the screw, the wood. You'll strip the wood. That's not the end of the world either, because you can fix that with, let's say, a small toothpick. But why do that when you don't have to? Flipping the guitar back over. Again, just snug on these. They're not going to fall off or anything like that. Just a little bit beyond finger tight, like a hair beyond finger tight. That's it. If you screw these on too tight, you run the risk of cracking the finish. So there's more serious problems in screwing these down too tight than there might be for the screws in the back. But screwing them down tight is not recommended in either case. Keep the extra parts. I want to put this together so all the parts stay in one place. And what I'll do then is, there you go. So what I'll do with the little screws, which are sitting over here, is just wrap some tape around them and put them in the same plastic bag that I'm going to put these original tuners in. On to the bridge. Let's take the strings apart here, separate them out so we can move these aside freely. And we just want to lift this off, and that's that. And put the replacing bridge on there. Just prior to putting this bridge in, whoops, I'm just going to put a drop or so over here and over here. I don't think I can fit on that side, but that's okay. The main thing is that the threads get a drop of oil. A little too much oil here, but I'll wipe that off with a napkin. Even though products like this have a cap on them, I still put them in a plastic bag before I put them in my toolbox. If you've ever had these things leak in your toolbox, you know that is not fun. I have drained off the excess oil by flipping this over, wrapping this up and flipping it over, just letting it sit for a while. And then what I did off camera is I turned each one of these one turn and turned it back one turn, then turned it again and then back again. So one forward, back to start, one backward, back to start. I did that just so I could work a little bit of the oil that may be on the thread in between the saddle and the adjustment thread. Adjusting screws facing the bridge pickup. Now, wanting to keep the strings, it's not really necessary to do this. You could change the strings, it's okay, but I'm going to keep the strings, and I'll feed this end through the eyelet over here, pull it tight, and then screw them up, screw the locking portion on. Of course, you want to make sure that these are open. I know this sounds silly, but you know, it happens to everybody. You know, you get into the job and you're kind of at the end of the job. You're a little bit more fatigued maybe than when you started. And you're struggling getting the string in the eyelet. And then you realize that you didn't open the eyelet. So that's what needs to be done. Now comes the task of intonation. So intonation means that the saddles are adjusted properly, forward or backward, to make this length of string exactly in pitch at the halfway point, which is the halfway point between the nut and the saddle, which is the 12th fret. So let's check this out. Listen. Listen. Does that sound in pitch to you? Let's hear it again. Now to me it sounds a little flat. Let me show you something. Let me bend it a little bit. See, that's more in pitch. That's flat. Okay, so a lot of people use tuners for this job, and granted, a tuner will tend to make it go faster, perhaps, maybe even more accurate for most people. I didn't have a tuner when I learned to play the guitar, so I would take my pitches off of records. So for me, I prefer to do this by ear if possible. Sometimes I'll check it with a tuner. I know a lot of you know this, but let's just review this real quick. The length of a string is going to determine the pitch of a note, or the frequency of a note, however you want to say it. So the longer the string, the lower the pitch is going to be. The shorter the string, the higher the pitch is going to be. So what that means is this, just, you know, keep this in mind when you intonate. Some people get very confused by this. It's pretty close, but nonetheless, I hear it a little bit flat. Okay, so nonetheless, I'll fix that. So that means if your note is flat, that the string is too long. So that means that the saddle has to move closer to the nut that's in that direction, of course, which means that you have to adjust these screws accordingly if your screws are facing the bridge pickup. Then you want to go clockwise, and that will move this saddle forward, shortening the length of the string. Now I've moved the saddle. Hope you can see that. It was kind of in the middle. Now it's up this way more. I can't turn this any further. By the way, when you get to that point, just stop. Don't try to force it to go any further. It's not going to go any further, and you're going to wind up either stripping your threads, or you're going to wind up mauling the head of the screw. So just stop. Then be kind of gentle, maybe firm is a better word, with the parts of a guitar. We're not dealing with tempered steel here. Okay, so anyway, now let's check the pitch. So we go to 12th fret, dead on. You can go either way. You could fret it first too, and then check it. But anyway, don't belabor the point here. That's it. So that's the mystery of intonation. Why is intonation important? Because as you move up your, the string length is, shall we say, analog, and then the frets are digital. Maybe you can think of it in terms of that. So if these are not in tune properly, what happens as you fret up the guitar, your fretted notes will be out of tune, which is really sounds disastrous. So nonetheless, that's it. New bridge, adjusted the saddles for the intonation, and new tuners. And use some of the older parts, or the original parts actually, that happen to fit. These tuners really fit just like a glove. So nonetheless, hope this helps you out, and you have a good day.